Professor Pig's tale of horror reads like some kind of grotesque reworking of the Pygmalion myth, where the legendary sculptor sought to perfect his ivory work by divine touch. Gotham's own mad sculptor sought to create the perfect person by blade. Dr. Lazlo Valentin arrived in Gotham in 1868, a doctor who thought of himself more as a flesh sculptor. As Pygmalion did when he was appalled by the flaws of mortal women and turned his eyes instead to crafting his perfection out of marble, so too Valentin was disgusted by the flaws of his patients. His early career at Gotham General Hospital was technically impeccable, but his colleagues winced at how he would scold a patient's crooked face even as he stitched their wounds shut. By 1875, his obsession with beauty perfection overbled into madness. He began making unauthorized corrections on comatose patients, straightening noses that were a little off, removing moles, repositioning jaws. When he was eventually dismissed, he did not just vanish. Rather, just as Pygmalion took a step back from his statue, so too did Valentin become obsessed with a grander work, the purification of Gotham itself. Valentin decided to use his talents in a different way. He opened a butcher shop. The genial neighborhood butcher on 14th and Grundy Street was, for years, a local institution, ever impeccably dressed in his soiled bow tie, white dress shirt, and striped apron, whistling along to opera records played in his shop. But out of sight, behind the counter, where gas lamps glinted off cleavers and meat hooks, Professor Pig reigned over a far cruder trade. Customers with minor imperfections, the woman with the lazy eye, the man who lisped, the rude drunk who insulted his prices, would be asked into the back room for a special cut. There, among the copper and formaldehyde smell, Pig would work singing Don Giovanni tunes as he perfected his living art. Like the pigs he despised so much, those filthy, snorting creatures who rolled around in their own filth, he saw the imperfect as being less than worthy of existence. His victims, those wretched piggies, were never simply killed. They were altered, their flaws cut away until they conformed to his warped ideal. When the Batman ultimately discovered his abattoir studio in 1892, they did not simply find corpses, but exhibitions. One group after the next like artifacts, their mouths fixed into benevolent smiles, their imperfections erased by cruel surgery. Pig's methods bore the chill reality of a man who saw himself as both artist and butcher. He was methodical as a surgeon, but employed the tools of an abattoir, ice picks for fine-tuning, meat hooks for hanging, cleavers for the coarse work. Police would remark years later on the eerie parallels with Robert Pickton, Canada's pig farmer serial killer who buried his victims among his pigs. Criminology students today debate whether or not Pickton was inspired by the horrors wreaked by Professor Pig. Pig also enjoyed the usefulness of pigs, their hunger, their omnivorous digestion. Why waste good meat, he'd chuckle while he was being interrogated, although nobody could determine what became of the missing pieces. His crimes were as much philosophical as sadistic, a bizarre send-up of perfectionism, when the pursuit of perfection permitted any atrocity. Even in Arkham, he was the master painter, sketching out anatomy diagrams and margins of his Bible, muttering about work left undone. When guards overheard him speaking to an invisible cellmate, one who seemingly only spewed riddles, they attributed it to Pig's madness. But a few who listened more acutely picked out a new resonance to Pig's humming. No longer opera alone, but an old nursery rhyme about a man who played games. Now the old butcher shop is empty, windows boarded up, floors still bearing the scars of where the police had ripped out the tiles. Gotham, though, is too smart to think the story is over. Some nights when the wind blows in just the right direction, the reek of antiseptic and rotting meat still wafts from the sewers by the old stockyards. The Batman stalks through those tunnels, his shadow darting by flesh hooks abandoned to swing in the shadows. And in Arkham's records, this intriguing note on Pig's file, a one-page piece, not signed, with nothing but a riddle. What's never finished, but always complete? What's never punished, though it kills the elite? The guards say Pig laughed when he read it. Laughter and laughter, until it became more like a song.